Hi, it's Dr. Jan with some wise words to work with. And did you know it's really not that hard to prevent workplace bullying or toxicity from rearing its ugly head in your organization? Today, we're going to talk about 3 strategies that you can implement that will protect your workplace from workplace bullying. Let's jump into it. The first one, of course, is education and training. You need to have education and training about workplace bullying. And why that's so important is because we have so many different ideas about what it is. And so you need to train people on what it is and also what it isn't, so that they know the difference between just some toxicity that might be rearing up and the difference between workplace bullying. And that's so important to preventing it, okay? Because a lot of times what ends up happening is somebody thinks, oh, we're not going to take something seriously because, oh, that's just Jan being unprofessional, when in fact, I'm really a workplace bullying. So knowing what it is so important. So you can have education and training every year so that people know what workplace bullying is and how to intervene. So that's super easy. Second, you can develop professional standards of behavior. And if you've heard me talk before, you know that I am a big, big fan of this. And this is why I am such a big fan of professional standards, okay? Is because there's not a universal set of professional behaviors. We all come from different backgrounds and education and worldviews, but many of us never get trained on what it means to be professional. I had a student a couple summers ago say she thought those were soft skills that we picked up by just seeing. The problem with that is when you see unprofessional skills, you replicate unprofessional skills. When you see professional skills, you may not know the difference. So training people on professional standards and having those is key. The other thing is every organization is different. If I'm doing customer service, that's a different requirement of professional skills than if I'm doing data and research and I'm not coming in contact with people. Those are a different skill requirement. So you need to have professional standards, 2 tiers. One on what requirements for my job. Okay, so if I am doing data entry and research, I need a different set of skills than if I'm doing customer service. Okay, so you need to have professional standards specific to people's job. And then you need to have general professional behaviors for your organization. Like, how should we communicate through email? How do we resolve conflict? Okay, how do we interact in meetings, all of those things. So those professional standards need to address specifics to people's job and then general interaction and interpersonal skills in your organization. And yeah, part of that also then is assessing those skills and getting people to be where they need to be. So even when somebody applies and maybe they're not at where they need to be to get hired, you can train them to get where they need to be. So here's another thing I highly recommend, that you just provide for everybody, and you also require assessment to see if they're meeting the standard. People need to have assertiveness or conflict resolution skills. People need to know how to communicate. So, and even people who are well educated does not mean they have any communication or assertive or conflict resolution skills. So you need to be training people on those across the board and then assessing whether or not people are meeting those. Okay. And the third thing is you need to have a culture of accountability. And what I mean by that is you need to hold people accountable to the standards that you set. That means leaders all the way down to the lowest worker, right? All the way down on your chain of command, everybody needs to be held accountable. And those need to be assessed regularly. But then you can create a culture of accountability. You reward people for meeting those standards. You reward people for making progress on those standards, and you reward people for reporting unprofessional behavior, okay? And it's important to have a system that of reporting that's confidential, okay? But when people feel part of the organization, okay, this is key, is you have to have and develop a culture of accountability, which includes organizational consciousness, in which people feel a part of your organization, that their organization, the job they're going to, is their community. People there support them. People have their back. They support people. They have people's back. And so that you have people who feel part of your organization. They are part of your team. They are not on a team. They are not an individual in an organization. They are a member of the organization. And when you have people who feel responsible for their peers, okay, because peer pressure is a great and probably one of the most effective pieces of a culture of accountability, is when they feel part of that peer culture in your organization. What you're going to have are people who want to adhere to the standards, who want to hold other people to that accountability standard because they know that that's important to meet that standard, because they're recognized and supported when they do. And even if they fall below, okay, they're encouraged to meet the standard. And if they don't meet the standard, the revolving door helps them go to where they need to be. And so it's those three things that can really help you prevent workplace bullying: education and training, having professional standards, and having a culture of accountability to make sure that people are meeting those standards. Thank you so much. I'd love to hear from you if you have any standards of professional behavior, or I'd love to hear if you've had training on professional standards, because I would love to know that. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you. Please like, share, and you can always email me at jan@stopbullyculture.com.